to you live from Nairobi, Kenya. This is TV47 Weekend. Thank you for joining us this particular evening. And remember, you can always talk to us on the social media platforms at TV47KE on Facebook and Twitter. And our guest this particular evening is one Chris Mpole. And I'll let him introduce himself briefly and tell us how much we're going to have some mushine on this particular event later on after our headlines. Tonight, 4 DCI officers arrested over claims of kidnapping, among other charges, with police linking them to the disappearance of 2 Indians and a Kenyan taxi driver. Their lawyer crying foul.
They are being held because of kidnapping, but who they have kidnapped, it's not clear.
Also, shocking statistics of Kenyans dying at the Gulf take center stage on last day of grilling.
A hustler is not a poor man. A hustler is a hard-working Kenyan who toils, wakes up very early in the morning to mind his business. As
MPs retreat to determine the fate of the 24.
To prepare our report, which should be out by early next week. The rest will be through the normal laid out steps and our standing orders.
Find out when we are likely to have a functioning cabinet. Get to know the new children's law that, among other things, removes parents' right to discipline their own children.
I think mtu mwenye ako 12 years can differentiate between what is bad and good.
And Mbesa is on the sign language docket. My name is Stanley Iringita. Welcome to the bulletin. The 4 DCI officers in police custody now say they are being reprimanded for refusing to implicate the seniors in the probe over the disappearance of 2 Indian nationals and their Kenyan taxi driver. Through their lawyer, Dunstan Omari, the 4, Peter Muthe, Francis Ndonye, and John Kamau and Joseph Mbugu, have also decried being denied police bond, saying it is against their rights. Paul Munio with that report.
Tonight, police believe they have the men behind the disappearance and subsequent death of 2 missing Indians and their Kenyan taxi driver in Nairobi. In their attempts to piece together what happened between the nights of July 23rd, when Zulfiq Khan, Mohammed Zaid and taxi driver Nicodemus Mwania were last seen leaving a club in Westlands, and July 25th, when the trio are said to have gone off the radar. Police in their probe zeroed in on 12 officers who were part of the disbanded Special Service Unit believed to have participated in the abduction of the 3 men near a hotel on Mombasa Road. After a 4-week probe under the command of the Internal Affairs Unit, which extended from Nairobi to the Abadia Forest in Nyeri County, investigators reportedly believe 4 officers of the disbanded unit played a direct role in the disappearance of the Indians who are thought to be ICT experts. The 4 officers, a chief inspector, a sergeant and 2 corporals, had their official cars detained at Capitol Hill Police Station in Nairobi when a review of CCTV footage from the roads near the hotel captured them. But according to their lawyer Dunstan Omari, that is not why there is more than meets the eye.
Among the issues that came up when they were being interviewed is that they were being told to frame up, to bring names, to frame up very senior police officers and other people in the multi-agency sector, because the unit works with other multi-agency approach. My clients refused to that. They were being promised that if they frame people, they will be put under witness protection and they'll be state officers.
The 4, Peter Muthe, Francis Ndonye, John Kamau and Joseph Mbugu, are part of the 21 officers who spent the better part of their Friday being grilled on their involvement before they were informed of their arrest and taken to Kileleshwa, Kilimani and Capitol Hill police stations respectively.
Dhamana ni haki ya kila mtu aliyeshikwa katika kipengele cha 49 na 50 cha katiba, lakini wamenyimwa ile dhamana. Kwa hivyo itabidi walale pale, itabidi watakaa pale mpaka siku ya Jumatatu.
For now, police are investigating a crime of abduction and conspiracy to commit a felony, awaiting DNA results on materials discovered in the Aberdare forest, which could see them prefer murder charges. For now, police have summoned family and friends of the victims to identify whether the clothes discovered belong to them and to provide DNA samples. Paul Munir, TV 47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Paul Munir, for that. Now, curtains come down on 5 days of rigorous vetting of nominees to the cabinet, with retreating to determine the fate of the 24 who will be charged with actualizing the Kenya Kwanza agenda. Flora Limukina looks at the billionaires set to rescue the bottom billion, ghost of the day, and when we are likely to have a functioning cabinet.
To testify on all matters in question.
The vetting exercise of Cabinet Secretary nominees by the National Assembly's Committee on Appointments entered day 5 today, marking the last day of the rigorous exercise, which involved inquiries on the net worth, integrity issues, and how best the candidates will deal with pertinent issues in their respective ministries.
My financial net worth.
Once again, the declaration of net worth by the nominees stood out, fueling reactions both on and offline. The net worth of the 24 nominees amount to 15.26 billion shillings, with Prime Cabinet Secretary nominee Musalia Mudavadi having the highest of 4 billion, and Zachariah Njeru of Lands being the lowest in the Hustlers cabinet with 80 million shillings worth. Majority of the nominees revealed that they accrued their wealth from the shares they hold in various listed companies, the value of their property, and income from farming.
Starting with the majority leader.
Meanwhile, the ghost of the past came to haunt the nominee for Secretary of the Cabinet, Mercy Wanjau, who was grilled over impromptu replacement by Ezra Chiloba at the Communications Authority. Wanjau, who is the former acting Communications Authority of Kenya aka Director General, was questioned on her credibility for the job.
Remaining in office was in order. Indeed, if at the time when the board was constituted and it came into office, if it had wished to substitute me for any of my colleagues who would have been more than able to handle the job, they would have done so.
Parliament has 7 days to give a conclusive report to the President through the clerk, paving the way for the appointment by the President. In a case where a nominee is rejected by Parliament, the President has the right to submit to the House the name of another candidate. This means that Kenya will have a functioning cabinet by the beginning of November, with the process of debating and approval taking place next week.
To prepare our report, which should be out by early next week. The rest will be through the normal laid out steps and our standing orders.
According to Article 152(1) of the Constitution, the cabinet includes the President, the Deputy President, the Attorney General, and not fewer than 14 and not more than 22 cabinet secretaries. Flora Limuki, TV 47.
Thank you, Limuki, for that. Now, matters to do with the Hustler Fund are among the issues that took center stage during the vetting of the corporates and SMEs cabinet nominee Simon Chelugui. Chelugui defended the 50 billion fund that is set for launch in December. But as Paul Kirobi tells us, the clearance by Chelugui left more questions than answers over the structure and its implementation.
From the Deputy Speaker, and go straight to answer the questions that he.
The debate on the way forward on the establishment of the 50 billion shillings Hustler Fund is leaving more questions than answers, with the government appearing unclear on the structure of the fund, which was a key campaign pledge. Speaking during his vetting for the position of Cabinet Secretary for Cooperatives and SMEs, Simon Chelugui stated that the Hustler Fund can only be accessed 3 months after its launch.
A hustler is not a poor man. A hustler is a hard-working Kenyan who toils, wakes up very early in the morning to mind his business. They wake up at 4. They buy their wares. They stock their wares. They sell their wares. They repay their loans. And they all desire a better life.
This is against the president's pledge of having the fund up and running by December 1st. Another issue that came out is on the interest rate of the fund, with Chelugui hinting that it could hit a maximum of at least 9%.
pay interest. There's a cost of administration of the fund. We want to send officers to check. We want the intermediaries to participate, to recover, and to lend, to provide advisory services as the last mile of delivery of this money. So what I can assure the country is this fund will be below 10%. And we are talking between around 9, and we're still thinking of bringing it down, or those are discussions going on. It's not yet clear.
This is in sharp departure from the campaign talk that the fund would be a zero interest on top of placing conditions for the would-be beneficiaries. In his Mashujaa Day speech on Thursday, Dr. Ruto indicated that hustlers will have to participate in a pensions program in order to access cheap credit.
No citizen will be excluded from the credit system. They will therefore be eligible to access credit as they work their way into paying their loans. I will launch this fund credit and savings product on the 1st of December.
Other matters that came to the fore include anchoring the fund within the law and its potential clash with other affirmative action funds like the Uwezo, Women and the Youth funds, some of which have zero interest.
And this Uwezo fund concept, which they are saying in their website, by then Jubilee government, that it was a bottom-up approach, never succeeded. How will a fund which will have an interest, however small it is, which is going to be refunded, help somebody to start a business? How will you incubate a startup using that kind of money?
So this practice needs to be inculcated at the beginning so that you pay interest. There's a cost of administration of the fund. We want to send officers to check. We want the intermediaries to participate, to recover, and to lend, to provide advisory services as the last mile of delivery of this money.
This comes even as data from the Central Bank of Kenya shows the cost of loans from commercial banks has hit 33-month high due to the increase in the base lending rate. The rate was 12.38% by August, which is the highest rate since November 2019. This development will see banks charge even more for loans. Its direct implication and mechanisms to recover the loaned funds remain clear, with Chelugui hinting at the possible involvement of the police.
Involvement of chiefs and county and police as asked by the Deputy Speaker. And I want to...
the brutality of the Kanjos.
Yes.
I think that's what she's asking.
We will collaborate with all the stakeholders. This is a government intervention, and we will want to rally everybody alongside this plan. So the police, the county governments, and the chiefs are part and parcel of this program. Thank you.
The realities of the intricate balance of governing the country are settling in as the president navigates tough economic times. Kenyans shocked by the cost of living and ambitious campaign pledges that require hundreds of billions of shillings. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Kirobi, for that. Now to something else. President William Ruto is set to appoint a 7-member panel that will be tasked to appoint the next Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC chairman, and 2 commissioners after the tenures of Wafula Chebukati, Boyamolu, and Abdi will expire in mid-January 2023. According to a Gazette notice dated 21st October 2022, signed by the President, the 7-member selection panel should be appointed at least 6 months before the lapse of the term of the chair and the 2 commissioners. Chebukati, together with the 2 commissioners, Gulia and Molu, were appointed into office on the 18th January 2017, and they were tasked in managing the 2017 and 2022 general elections. Moving on, appearing before National Assembly Committee on Appointments, Cooperative and MSME CS nominee Simon Chebukati confirmed that he was at the forefront to push for the enactment of the new Children's Act of 2022 when he served as CS for Labour and Social Protection. But how familiar are you with this act? Do you know, for example, the new act says parents cannot discipline their own children? Our reporter Elizabeth Atieno was able to interact with the family lawyer and parents to get their insights on the new children law amended after 21 years and filed this report.
The Children's Act of 2001 is an act of parliament that makes provision for parental responsibility, fostering or adoption, child custody, guardianship, care and protection of children. However, since its enactment almost 21 years ago, gaps have been identified in its implementation, this now calling for the introduction of a new law dubbed the Children Act of 2022, which has since provided enhanced legal provisions to safeguard and protect the rights of over 24 million children in Kenya. Ivy Kathungo is a family lawyer at the Judy Thongori and Company Advocates and now tables her legal insights on the Children Act.
It is an upgrade, very progressive, I must say. So one of the things that it has introduced is the recognition of intersex children. But there is also in terms of parental responsibility. In the old act, I think many of us know that parental responsibility was for children who were born to parents that were not married. Before now, the act required that a father applied to court for, to be able to acquire parental responsibility. But now the new act has said if a child, whether or not born in wedlock, the father and the mother have parental responsibility in equal measure.
The Children Act of 2022 was assented to law by former President Uhuru Kenyatta on the 6th of July and took effect on the 26th of July this year. Some of the highlights in the Children Act that have been welcomed include raising the criminal culpability age from the previous 8 years to 12 years. The new law also states that children below 12 years accused of committing minor offences will not be taken through the court system. Rather, they will now be diverted to community-based system such as their families.
So now we have what we call diversion. So diversion now, is an alternative justice recourse. So instead of taking the child through the judicial system, standing trial, then we have diversion where, children, it's a more of an alternative way of dealing with a child in conflict with the law.
All children in conflict with the law will have access to free legal aid as they navigate through the justice system. The rising of the criminal culpability age has elicited mixed reaction from parents.
Raising age to 12 years for criminal culpability is okay. Because one, I think mtu mwenye ako 12 years can differentiate between what is bad and good.
I think that makes more sense and it would actually need to be increased to 18 because I think before you get to 18, you really don't make decisions that you're aware of.
So I think it's good it remains at 8, not at 12.
So now Nerea, as not even 12 is not enough, as from 15, they should be at least wapelekwe juvenile.
The law also reintroduces a new concept of kinship adoption. Under this concept, relatives wishing to adopt children related to them will be able to do so in a much cheaper, faster way, devoid of legal technicalities.
Basically, it's an adoption where the adoptive parent is a relative to the child. So yes, children maybe who are orphaned, so the sister to the biological parents decides to take them in. So a lot of times there's an informal way of doing it because sometimes people don't go through the legal process, yeah? So you just, your sister passes, you take in the children. So, but sometimes now to offer safeguards for these children, it's much better for you now to formally adopt them.
According to the law, a child must be at least 6 weeks old and declared free for adoption by a registered society. Applicants wishing to adopt a child are required to be aged between 25 and 65 years and at least 21 years older than the child. The law further states that adoption cannot be granted unless the child concerned has been in the continuous care of the adopting couple for more than 3 consecutive months preceding the filing of the application, and both the child and the applicants may be evaluated and assessed by a registered adoption society in Kenya.
So at least now the law has said that those restrictions are not going to be applied when it comes to kingship adoptions involving the parents of the child, either biological parents of the child or the relatives of the child.
The Children Act of 2022 further gives priority to family-based alternative care as opposed to institutionalization of children in children homes.
Most people and most organizations have actually abused the orphanage homes. They have taken it as a business. And if they have taken it as a business, there are a lot of children homes who are receiving external funding. And because of that particular misuse, most of organizations, most of donors have shied away from assisting the children in the orphanage.
Still on adoption, the law also recognizes the kafala system, which involves the taking in of a child who is deprived of parental or family care and protection by a person professing the Islamic faith. Another big scope for children is the establishment of a child welfare fund under the Public Finance Management Act to cater for the needs of children in distress. The Act seeks to mandate county governments to establish child welfare schemes and child care facilities in their respective counties, besides taking charge of pre-primary education. The new Children Act provides ways of addressing vulnerable children's concerns by capturing emerging trends and issues like online abuse, child trafficking, and radicalization. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
Thank you for that, Elizabeth Atieno. Now, as the debate continues on the reasoning behind the increasing number of Kenyans tripping to the Gulf, many more families continue coming to terms with the loss of their loved ones. And at the Gulf, such is the family of Michael Waweru, who received the body of their daughter, Margaret Ruguru, who lost her life as she tried to make a living. Chepto Boyd reports.
6 a.m. in the morning is when the body of Margaret Ruguru arrived at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. A moment of pain and grief rents the air. According to her father, Michael Waweru, his third-born child, who was also the breadwinner ticket to their humble family, left the country in May 2021 in search of a job in Saudi Arabia. The family says Margaret's phone went off in March this year and word came home that their daughter had died in the foreign country after allegedly falling sick.
Sasa mwenye alikuwa naye wakati wa kwanza akapigwa transfer. Alipotoka akamwachia mwingine. Mwenye kuachia mtoto alikaa naye kidogo kama mwezi moja, remote ya TV ikapotea kwa nyumba. Wakati ilipotea kwa nyumba wakamwambia watamuua. Ndio alimwambia atamuua, si mtoto hawezi ngojea kifo. Sasa mwenyewe naye alitoroka. Vile alitoroka ndio sasa amepatana na hii maneno.
When she got there it was okay, but she became sick. And when she looked for the agent was not able to help her.
The family and friends of the late 29-year-old are now asking the government to intervene and ensure safety measures are put in place to guard other Kenyans in the Gulf countries.
Asichana wanaendaga huko wakifikiria maybe wanaenda kupata a better life. But mwisho nakuja inakuwa nikilia, unaona?
So naomba serikali tu isaidie wa Kenya wakienda huku, kwa sababu lazima tutafute wakienda huku wakuwe safe.
They have thanked former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko for facilitating the arrival of the body in the country.
Kwa niaba ya familia ningetaka tu kumwambia asante juu watu ungeweza kufika hapo mahali tumefika.
Margaret Ruguru has left behind 2 young children, with the family hoping to know what exactly led to her death. Chepto Boyd, TV 47, Nairobi.
And still on the same matters, Labour Cabinet nominee Florence Bore was put to task to explain how she will deal with the labour menace and tortures faced by domestic workers in Gulf region, where 62 Kenyan domestic workers have lost their lives so far. Appearing before the National Assembly Appointments Committee, Bore admitted to the menace, which she says will be her first task to streamline the sector once approved by Parliament.
Shocking statistics of Kenyans dying at the GAF took center stage on the last grilling, with Cabinet Secretaries nominees, both Labour and cooperatives, confirming that many more Kenyans are dying at the GAF more than previously thought.
So even this, I agree, there is a problem and we need to address it. And I believe with the political goodwill, we are going to do much and stop this menace.
And that translating to about 6 people each and every month, the Labour Cabinet nominee was put to task on the plans she has to reduce the sudden painful death.
The issue here being discussed is that many Kenyans who go to Saudi Arabia come back dead.
Yes.
Nobody's complaining about whether they have the ability to do the job, whether they need training. The issue is, why are they ending up dead? Mm-hmm. And has the Saudi Arabian, I've never had anyone saying that they're going to hold the Saudi Arabian government to account, because we have Saudi Arabians in Kenya, but they don't end up dead.
They earn a living to sustain their parents. Most of them are single mothers, sustain their children. Now a problem has arisen. Do you solve it by condemning, or you solve it by looking at the root cause to deal with it?
Nominee Florence Bore telling the committee this will be our first task once approved, but members queried her on how she will balance between curbing the deaths and retaining remittances, which contribute immensely to the GDP.
Philippines has over 2 million domestic workers in the Arabian Peninsula, and they contribute immensely to their GDP. So instead of bastardizing the process, you need to have a collective team of yourself, Foreign Affairs, and any other agents of government that's involved, and engage bilaterally.
Up to the task, I'll get to the bottom of this and ensure that this problem of migrant workers come to a stop. You've clearly said about Philippines. Philippines are doing very well because they have systems that are working and they protect their workers. And I promise to be able to review the bilateral labor agreements with these countries.
Further, the nominee was put on spot over the National Social Fund, which President and Kenya Kwanza government insists on saving more. MPs raising eyebrows over the structure, considering elderly have not been receiving their savings due to bureaucracy and lack of transparency.
How will you make sure that there is efficiency in the ministry on these monies, the cash transfer, once and for all?
What policies will you put in place to stop this wastage so that this money can go to do something else for the betterment of our society?
We want to increase the contributions to NSSF to have a better retirement benefits, so that we don't have the stipends. We reduce on the stipends that the government has to pay to the overage. So for us, where we are, we start contributions, the mandatory ones, to NSSF to ensure that we have better savings.
After 1 week of grilling cabinet nominees, now the committee proceeds to sieve and write its report, which is expected to be tabled in the House early next week. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Now to the wonderful world of sports. The Kenya Rugby 15s team earlier today organized an internal training match as Team Green thrashed Team Red 33-27 at the RFUA grounds. The Simbas are using the matches while in training camp to prepare for the final Rugby World Cup qualification tournament in Dubai, where they have been drawn against USA, Portugal and Hong Kong. Our sports reporter Dennis Otieno tells us more.
Determined to qualify for the final Rugby World Cup qualification tournament in Dubai, the Kenya Simbas earlier today put to test their acquired skills in training camp by organizing an international training match that saw Team Green defeat Team Red 33-27 at the RFUA grounds in Nairobi. The 37-man squad has been training in camp since Monday before traveling to Dubai on the 1st of November this year. However, without the services of Colin Sinjera, Dominic Colson and Andrew Matoka, who were met by pressing commitments.
Itadhiri vile tutacheza kwa sababu hizo timu ambayo tunaenda kucheza
ni timu sugu sana, na Dominic particularly yeye ndio atakuwa mtu ambaye tutamiss sana huko Dubai, kwa sababu huwa anacheza fly half na yeye na Kubu, unajua ni wachezaji tofauti. Sasa Kubu analeta kucheza tofauti na Dominic pia. Sasa ndio tutakuwa na shida.
Speaking after the match, Kenya Simbas head coach Paul Odera exuded confidence over his team registering good results owing to the intense training that has seen the players regain their fitness, as he urged the players to believe in themselves despite not training at world-class facilities.
We as Kenyans, and what we're trying to tell the players is, why don't we also take pride in whatever little we have and the resources we have here, build on what we have here. And that is something we've got to give a lot of value and credit. Yes, there are teams who are in South Africa, but we don't have the money. So to try and look at that other countries are doing different things because they have more money actually won't help us. So psychologically, what we're trying to get the players to understand, and they're responding quite well, is that what we do here in Kenya also has value.
According to Odera, the team should have had a number of friendly matches within the 2 months recess in order to improve their tactical prowess. However, adding that they are organizing the international training matches to regain their sharpness.
The credit to the strength and conditioning team and the medical team, that they've got them actually in a good place physically. Tactically and technically, there's still a lot of work to be done. And you see, that's the disadvantage if you're not playing against strong top teams regularly. You lose a bit of sharpness.
The Simbas, who missed out on direct qualification to the 2023 Rugby World Cup in France after finishing second in July's Rugby Africa Cup, will battle it out against USA, Portugal and Hong Kong in the repechage tournament. Dennis Otieno, TV47 Sports.
Thank you, Dino, for that. Now to some motorsport action. Kenyan motorsport fans were earlier today treated to a drifting spectacle after Jordan's international Ahmed Daham exhibited his drifting skills at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, KICC. The 35-year-old Daham, who is in the Guinness World Book of Records for the longest twin drifting, arrived in the country on Sunday evening, and with the aim of mentoring drifting drivers in the country. Speaking after the event, the Red Bull-sponsored driver stated that Kenya is full of motorsport talent, however, adding that the drivers need better cars to express their craft better.
I just think they need better cars, better setups. We help them out with the setups in the morning, but this is all we can do. But yeah, the talent is there, the passion is there, people love drifting, people love motorsport. So I think it's going to be the next big thing in Kenya.
And obviously